Well, I always like to start with an early question about your early life. Well, you graduated in 1999 with a self-created American history through narrative folk music.
Yeah.
What was your conclusion?
Well, actually, what I studied, one of the main things I studied was how I was really interested in the West and in the Western United States and the myth of the West, which was like, you know, very much about like, you know, cowboys and good, you know, that there was a moral code and a high moral standard, and these guys live up to, and like, and then the songs, it was always about the very like the great cowboy, you know, and like, and the bad bank robber and all this, and then I thought like, so I was really into that, and then I started to notice that, you know, that really without the railroads, the cowboys wouldn't have existed. So, because the cowboys were driving cattle to the railway stations where the cows were loaded onto trains. So the cowboys really only existed for a short amount of time before the trains went all the way across the country.
And how long did they exist?
They're about 15 or 20 years.
Only then?
Yeah, and but we've made a huge culture out of it, you know. And so, and really, so the cowboy songs were all filled with cowboys didn't like the trains because the trains were basically moving westward and putting the cowboys out of business, this cowboy lifestyle. And so basically they were romanticizing and nostalgicizing this, like, this being cowboys while they still existed. So they hated the trains, and the trains, so there's all sorts of songs about cowboys getting run over by trains, or cowboys getting run over by stampeding cattle that were like trains, or cowboys that like sinned and like got all drunk and then they rode the train to hell, you know, all these great songs. And then there's all, you know, and the railroad songs were all about these brave engineers that were just basically like the cowboys. They were these like lonely individuals who would like drive their trains really fast and like would die sometimes.
And how come the different perspective of the railwayman and the cowboys? How come?
It's about, well, it's about like it's an individualism, you know, and it's about like individualism being placed on, like, that was what they were really going for, was this idea that like you had kind of mastery over your own life, you know, and that if you got out far enough into the wilderness, you were your own person because no one had control over you. It was the law of the West, you know, and I think that's still a huge part of American culture, even if it's not the same. That's the belief in that time and the belief in that situation has definitely, like, you know, it's definitely had a huge effect on our culture today. I mean, even down to the idea of calling George Bush a cowboy, you know, has its own implications, which, you know, like, some people would take that as a really good thing, and other people would say, no, like, it's a bad thing, you know. But it's,
the railway people say it's a bad thing, maybe.
Well, yeah, totally. I mean, people who, you know, it's such a part of our language now that, like, you know, it really shapes how we talk about things. But really, you know, how those songs were all written, you know, it showed me, like, I guess my conclusion was that basically, you know, songs and how they're written express so much about a culture besides just the story that they're trying to relate, you know. And I think that's important to know for me in my own writing, because it stops me trying to write songs about specific things all the time and or writing whole records about specific things. It gets me writing about as much as I can, because I know that from culture I pick up all kinds of, from the things I do and the places I go, I pick up all sorts of things and people I meet. And when those end up on a record, they'll end up there, and I may not even know all that went into making them until much later. But I know that like there's just a bunch of stuff that's filling up my ideas that go into making a record that will, down the line, I'll understand more about what went into making them, you know.